Good morning to one and all. I am Dr. Anagha Kowshik. I'm currently working as an assistant professor in the Department of ECE at PES University, Bengaluru. The work I'll be presenting was carried out during my tenure at MMRFIC Technology Private Limited, where I worked as a senior systems engineer. I would like to thank my co-authors, Hazel, Dr. Sanjeev, and Dr. Ganeshan for the wonderful collaboration throughout the completion of this work. Our work is titled Angle-Only Target Tracking for Millimeter Wave Radars, Performance and Experimental Validation. In this work, we investigate a challenging radar sensing problem, that is, can reliable target tracking be achieved using angle-only measurements? Conventional radar tracking systems, as we all know, typically rely on three key measurements, that is range, velocity, and angle. However, in many practical situations, what happens is reliable range information may not be available, and velocity estimates could be unreliable, or even sensing systems may be constrained by hardware and computational limitations. This naturally raises an important question. Can reliable target tracking be still achieved only using the angle measurements? Answering this question is the primary motivation behind our work. Angle-only target tracking is fundamentally a challenging problem. Given a sequence of angular observations, infinitely many target trajectories can be mathematically consistent with those measurements. As illustrated in this picture here, very different target motions can still produce the same sequence of the observed angles. The role of the tracking algorithm here is to estimate the most likely trajectory despite this ambiguity. This makes the problem both underdetermined as well as highly nonlinear, which is why we need a robust estimation technique. This work makes four key contributions. First, we develop a novel modified polar coordinate extended Kalman filter or MPC framework for angle-only target tracking in millimeter wave radar systems. Second, we compare its performance against two widely used approaches, that is the polar Kalman filter and the Cartesian extended Kalman filter. Third, we validate this framework through extensive Monte Carlo simulations as well as the real-world radar experiments. Finally, we highlight its relevance for future sensing applications, particularly in the context of 6G systems. The central idea behind our approach is to represent the target state using the MPC framework, that is the modified polar coordinate framework, rather than the conventional Cartesian coordinates. In Cartesian coordinates, the state consists of position and velocity components in both the x and y directions. However, under angle-only measurements, range remains unknown, observability becomes poor, and the estimation becomes highly nonlinear. So instead, we represent the target state using the modified polar coordinates that uses the angular position, angular rate, normalized radial velocity, and the inverse range. This representation directly exploits the observable angular information and provides increased numerical stability. As a result, angle-only target tracking becomes more tractable and forms the basis of our MPC-EKF framework. Since the target angle is observable, its derivatives and related dynamic quantities can also be incorporated into the state space representation, as shown in the equations here. This enables the formulation of a dynamic model in the MPC framework, which is suitable for angle-only target tracking. I will not be going into the mathematical depth in the video due to shortage of time. The details can be found in our paper. We formulate a nonlinear state space model where the state evolves in the modified polar coordinates while maintaining compatibility with the Cartesian motion dynamics. This is done so by the usage of three functions here, G1, G2, and G3, which is given here as well as here. The framework includes transformations between the coordinate systems and also a measurement model based solely on the angular observations. Using this state space representation, we then develop an extended Kalman filter framework. As shown here, this is the prediction state, and here is the updation state. At each time step, the filter predicts the target state, computes the innovation using the measured angle, and it updates the estimation recursively. This allows reliable target tracking even when only angle measurements are available. To evaluate the proposed framework, we first conducted a series of Monte Carlo simulations using a 77 gigahertz wave system in MATLAB. The simulations modeled a realistic radar operation, target motion, as well as sensing conditions. We conducted these experiments to assess whether accurate target tracking could be achieved only using the angle-only measurements. The simulation results here demonstrate that MPC EKF framework is capable of achieving a very competitive tracking performance with the use of only angle measurements. As we can see in the plot here, this is the movement of the own ship and this is the movement of the target. So this is the relative ground truth, and we can see that using MPC EKF, we are able to track the target accurately. This is another scenario we have considered, and we also compare it with the polar Kalman filter as well as the Cartesian EKF approaches, and we see that MPC EKF is providing a competitive tracking performance. This confirms that meaningful target tracking can be achieved despite the absence of direct range and velocity measurements. A major strength of this work is that it goes beyond simulations. We conducted real-world experiments using our in-house 24 gigahertz millimeter wave radar platform. The photograph shown here is the target walking in the curved path, and we have given the same measurements to our MPC EKF framework here. And as we can see, MPC EKF is showing a competitive performance even under practical operating performance. Here, the target is walking in a straight line. And as we can see, MPC EKF is providing a competitive tracking performance. This experimental validation is significantly strengthening the applicability of the proposed approach. We also further evaluated the same framework using RMSE metrics as well as the computational complexity analysis. Although MPC EKF operates with significantly less measurement information than the other two conventional approaches, its performance remains competitive to them, that is the polar KF and the extended Kalman filter. The computational complexity also is remaining practical, making the framework suitable for real-time target tracking applications. The significance of this work lies in demonstrating reliable tracking under highly constrained sensing conditions. Potential applications include autonomous navigation, passive surveillance, smart transport systems, future 6G sensing systems, and so on. As sensing has become increasingly important in the next generation wireless systems, resource-efficient target tracking methods such as angle-only tracking can play a very important role in enabling intelligent and low-power sensing solutions. I believe this work stands out for three important reasons. First, it addresses a fundamentally challenging and underdetermined tracking problem. Second, it introduces a robust MPC EKF framework specifically designed for angle-only tracking. Third, and most importantly, it combines the theoretical development with both simulation-based as well as real-world experimental validation. Together, these contributions demonstrate the practical feasibility of angle-only tracking and its relevance to future intelligent sensing and 6G systems. This work was published in the 2025 National Conference on Communications, which is a premier conference that is held annually at IITs and IISc. The work can be cited as shown here. Thank you for your time and consideration for the Best Research Paper Awards 2026. Thank you.